So in my videos, you're going to hear me talking a lot about low self-esteem or doubt. And the reason for that is it's arguably the worst mental hindrance that somebody can employ. And certainly in my experience, it does the most damage. So I've suffered with depression, and I've suffered with anxiety, and I've suffered with doubting myself all the time, low self-esteem, and the doubting myself all the time did more damage. So that's why I'll be talking about it more than I will depression or anxiety, because it's the most damaging, and it's also the one mental hindrance that most other mental illnesses are born from. So anorexia, bulimia, cognitive distortions, bipolar, OCD, these all come from low self-esteem. So does the label narcissist. So I think that's what I'm going to cover in this video. You'll have to forgive me because I'm a little bit tired. It's getting a little bit late. It's early hours in the morning, in fact. And I haven't been very well today. And so I slept a little bit earlier. So coming towards 11, 12 o'clock, I've perked up a little bit. And now we're, nearly at 2 o'clock in the morning that I'm doing this video. But I thought, with me being all keen, I'll get one more uploaded before I go to bed. So narcissism is something that I'll cover in this video. I'll try and keep this one relatively brief. So in a nutshell, there's no such thing as a narcissist. It's a label that's given to someone to condemn that individual. So whoever says you're a narcissist to somebody else is labeling them in that way. And they may as well turn around and say, I don't understand you. So saying that someone's a narcissist is categorizing them, but blindly putting them in that category at the same time, because somebody else came up with that label and you've just copied it. So somebody else made up the idea that a narcissist exists. Actually, it's just an individual suffering with low self-esteem, and as a result of it, they doubt themselves a lot, and you'll find all the things that come from that. It's a little bit like when you burn a fuel, you need oxygen to do so, and if you don't have enough oxygen, you'll get poisonous gases forming. In the same way that if you haven't got a healthy mind and you're not thinking straight, and people label you as a narcissist because you're suffering with your confidence levels, essentially, one of the things that you're going to want to do is you're gonna want to seek what people call external validation to make you feel better about yourself. That is a misunderstanding that is developed from the idea that you can use other people in order to increase your confidence levels. That doesn't work, but that's what people try. And they fail at it miserably. And now, it will give a short-term relief to the individual that's suffering with the low self-esteem if someone says, you're amazing, you're the best person I've ever met, you're incredible, you're great looking, you dress fantastic. Because you see a lot of people that are suffering with their mental health and low self-esteem go out the way to make a real effort about how they look, so other people can compliment them. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting compliments off people that are genuine for the way that you look if you've made an effort. However, if we're talking about an individual that's suffering with the low self-esteem, that has been labelled by others as a narcissist or narcissistic in their behaviour, that is more accurate, actually. It's just that they don't have a grip on reality. They don't understand how to build their confidence and self-esteem. And they've come up with an idea of, I know, I'll use other people. And that is what comes from their behaviour then. You'll find that they use people, people that are suffering with low self-esteem. They look for external validation. They also have a false sense of confidence about them. So they put in huge amounts of effort in order to appear more confident than they are. But they can also go the other way, where they will play the victim all the time. I'm no good at this, I'm no good at that, I look terrible. So other people compliment them and say, oh no, what are you talking about? You're beautiful, you look amazing, or you're very handsome, you look fantastic. Why would you say that? That's attention in the positive sense from somebody else, whilst they're beating themselves up, telling themselves that they're ugly, telling everybody else that they're ugly. And that's one way of seeking external validation. And the other way is by producing it yourself, by making out that you are something that you're not. So you identify as being deficient. However, the image that you present to everybody else is inflated. It takes a lot of effort. So your belief system subconsciously is that you're worthless. However, you appear to other people that you have a good sense of self-confidence and you deliver it well. In fact, you can become quite loud with it, want to be the centre of attention all the time. It all depends. And these are both ends of the spectrum, where you can have someone really, really confident and then all of a sudden they have a low point where they haven't got the energy to keep up that facade anymore, and they'll fall into the other, which is beating themselves up, telling themselves they're no good. And that is how bipolar develops also, that type of black and white thinking, the one extreme to the other, and no balance in the mind. So just sticking with the narcissist, there's no such thing. It's a label that's given to somebody. I mean, a narcissist doesn't label themselves as a narcissist, if you want to believe in that title, narcissist. For me, it doesn't exist. But let's just say it does for a minute, for the sake of having this conversation, that an individual that's behaving narcissistically wouldn't identify as a narcissist, because one of the traits that they also employ is not taking responsibility. They don't take responsibility for their actions. They don't take responsibility for anything. And a lot of the reason behind that is because they can't. They don't have the energy to. So if someone criticises them for something that they see as they've done wrong, they will go into denial rather than face that criticism, because they're very fragile in nature. They're already beating themselves up on a daily basis, but hiding it very well, suffering with the low self-esteem. So when somebody has a go at them, they don't understand why this narcissist isn't taking responsibility. It's more of a case of that they don't know how to, and also that they're not able to. So when you understand where people are at mentally and why they behave the way they do, and you drop the label and you don't condemn them to you are a narcissist and that's all that you are, that's not true. They might employ certain traits that people label as narcissistic very frequently, but there'll be moments that they don't behave like that. But because the majority of their behaviour manifests that way, they're labelled in such that they are that. And a lot of people will do that also to protect themselves. Stay away from them, they're narcissistic. You don't want anything to do with them. However, somebody that behaves narcissistically isn't a problem if you understand them and you know how to behave when you're around that person. So they're no threat to you if you understand them. So if you understand that somebody that's labelled a narcissist is suffering with low self-esteem, you can start to have a little bit of understanding towards why they behave the way they do. Because a lot of the time, someone that behaves that way has developed habitual habits, obviously, of behaviour that they don't even understand themselves. They've forgotten how they got to that place. But one thing that will always be true with someone that's behaving narcissistically is that they will be suffering internally greatly. And it's not desirable. They ideally don't want to be. However, they don't know how not to be. So that's my last video for now. Just trying to debunk these myths that fly around. And I'll be honest, it's a little bit annoying when I see people streaming on platforms, social media. You've got Facebook, YouTube, other places as well that I don't really look at. But I see enough on the platforms that I do look at of people going on about narcissists and this is what you need to do and this is how you need to behave and stop being nice to them and stop doing this and don't do this and don't do that. And it's like, well, how's about understand them? You know, before you start buying into the idea a narcissist exists and you've got that idea set in stone that you need to protect yourself from them, and you'll only do that if you don't understand them because you see them as a threat. Learn about mental health, learn about low self-esteem, learn about why someone behaves that way. I'm not saying encourage people like that into your life. Keep your distance if they get too much. However, you can be of help to that individual if you understand them and you know the remedies to readdress the balance in their psychology, and you can push that behaviour gently towards them and see how they take it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't change. But that's entirely up to them. It's their responsibility to do that. It's their responsibility of the suffering to want to alleviate that suffering, to seek help if it's required. That's if they want it, because a lot of people don't want help. And the reason why they don't want help, people that are suffering with their self-esteem, is because they have the idea that they want to do it all themselves. They want to achieve whatever they feel that needs to be achieved by themselves, so they don't accept charity. They don't accept people's help. They're too proud. So, you know, that's something that's got to be addressed in that individual, is to understand why they feel that way. So there are ways to deal and heal people that are suffering with low self-esteem and behaving narcissistically, but there is no such thing as a narcissist. I don't like that at all. It doesn't help anybody. You just condemn that individual and say they're that and that's all that they are, and that's never true for anybody, in fact. So I think these labels need to be dropped, and it's more about becoming more aware of why people behave the way they do. Otherwise, there's no way of helping anyone. You know, that's if they want helping. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Until next time, I'll speak to you later.